Ase Karuna Kori. Oh hey Vaishnava Thakur Vayara Sagara Dasa Karuna Kori. Dia Parachar Shoro He Amare Tumara Charana Gori. Dia Parachara Shoro He Amare Tumara Charana Gori. Chaya Bhega Dhomi Chaya Dosha Shodhi Chaya Guna Deho Dase. Chaya Veda Dhomi Chaya Dosha Shodhi Chaya Guna Deho Dase. Chaya Satsanga Deho He Amare Boshashi Shange Rashe. Chaya Satsanga Deho He Amare Boshashi Shange Rashe. Ekaki Amar Nahi Pai Balo Hare Nama Sankirtane. Ekaki Amar Nahi Pai Balo Hare Nama Sankirtane. Tumi Tripakori Shraddha Bindu Diya Deho Krishna Nama Dhane. Tumi Tripakori Shraddha Bindu Diya Deho Krishna Nama Dhane. Krishna se tomar Krishna dite paro tomara shakrati ache. Krishna se tomara Krishna dite paro tomara shakrati ache. Amito Ganga Krishna Krishna Boli Daitava Pache Pache. Vaishnava Thakur Toyara Sagada Idase Karuna Kori. Jai Vaishnava Thakur Vaishnava Thakur Vaishnava Thakur Jai Vaishnava Thakur. Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada. Ujjvala Varana Goda Varadeham Vilasita Niravare Baba Videham Vilasita Niravare Baba Videham Samkaramami Cha Shri Sati Tribhuvana Pavana Kripaya Lesham Samkaramami Cha Gadgaram Tara Bhava Vikaram Durjana Tarjana Nada Vishalam Karunam Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Satchitanayam Aranam Varadara Charu Kapola Induvinindita Nakachaya Ruchiram Jatita Nijaguna Nama Vinodam Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Satchitanayam Vigalita Nayana Kamala Jaladaram Bhushana Navarasa Bhava Vikaram Gati Ate Mantar Nritya Vilasam Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Satchitanayam Gati Ate Mantar Nritya Vilasam Chanchala Charu Charana Gati Ruchiram Manjira Ranjita Pada Yuddha Maduram Chandra Venindita Shitala Varanam Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Satchitanayam Pati Dora Kamandalu Dandam Divyakale Vara Mundita Mundam Durjana Kalmasha Kandanam Dandam Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Satchitanayam Shana Vura Jala Kavalita Kampita Vindara Bharaduchiram Malaya Javira Chitta Ujjvala Tilakam Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Satchitanayam Nindita Kamala Dalanayam Ajanulam Vitta Shri Vijayagalam Kalevara Kaishora Natakavesham Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Satchitanaya Ujjvala Varana Pura Varadeva Sita Niravadi Bhava Videham Tribhuvana Partam Esham Sampana Mamisha Shri Satchitanaya Jai Satchitananda, Jai Satchitananda, Jai Satchitananda, Jai Gaura Hari. Jai Satchitananda, Jai Satchitananda, Jai Satchitananda, Jai Gaura Hari. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Jai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Could we please look at the verses from the 12th canto? Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Uta Parakamalam Sri Guru Vaisesika Sri Rupam Sagrajata Sahagana Raghunatham Vigham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Shri Shukuvacha Tatash what? Samskrita Kriyahina Rajasa Tamasavrita Rajaste Bhakshayishyanti Mlacharajanya Rupina Shishukuvacha Tatashtanudhinam Dharma Satyam Shaucham Shamadaya Kalena Balina Rajan Nangshatyahur Balam Smritihi Dampatye Viruchir Hetur Mayaiva Vyavaharike Stritve Punsve Chahiratir Vipratve Sutramevahi Linganeva Shamakyatav Anyonya Patikaranam Avrityanyaya Dalbhalyam Panditye Chapalam Vachaha Anadyataiva Sadhutve Sadhutve Tamba Evatu Svikara eva chodvahe snanameva prasadanam Dure varyayanam tirtam lavanyam keshadaranam udaram bharata swarta satyatve darshtyamevahi daksham gatum avaranam yashorte dharma sevanam rajahi lubdai rajanyer nirgrinair dasyudharmapi achchinna dharadravina yasyanti girikhananam shaka mulamisha shaudra pala pushpashpi bhojana anavrishya vinakshanti durbhiksha karapidita kalir dosha nidhe rajan asti heko mahanguna kirtadareva krishnasya mukta sangha param braje krite yadyayato vishnum kretayam yajato mukai dvapare paricharyayam kalo tadari kirtana sutuvacha yam brahma varunendra rudra maruta studvanti divyaistave vedai sangapada kramo panishadai gayantiyam samaga dhyana vastita tadgatena manasa pashyantiyam yogino yasyantana vidusurasu akana devaya tasmai namah sarva vedanta saram hi Shri Bhagavantam Ishyate Tasmadrasamritatasya Nanyatrasyadrati Kvachet Nimnaganam Yata Ganga Devanam Achato Yata Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu Purananam Idam Tata Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramahamsamekam Amalam Jnanam Param Giyate Tatra Jnana Viraga Bhakti Sahitam Naishkamyamaviskritam Satchinvas Patan Vicharana Paro Bhakya Vimuchen Nara Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Tukha Shamanas Tam Namami Harim Param Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Read the translation to the first five verses. Not purified by any Vedic rituals and lacking in the practice of regulative principles, these barbarians in the guise of kings will be completely covered by the modes of passion and ignorance. Shukadeva Goswami said, "Then, O king, religion truthfulness, cleanliness, tolerance, mercy, duration of life, physical strength and memory will all diminish day by day because of the powerful influence of the age of Kali. Men and women will live together merely because of superficial attraction, and success in business will depend on deceit. Womanliness and manliness will be judged according to one's expertise in sex, and a man will be known as a brahmana just by wearing his thread. A person's spiritual position will be ascertained merely according to external symbols, and on that same basis people will change from one spiritual order to the next. A person's propriety will be seriously questioned if he does not earn a good living, and one who is very clever at juggling words will be considered a learned scholar. A person will be judged unholy if he does not have money, and hypocrisy will be accepted as virtue. Marriage will be arranged simply by verbal agreement, and a person will think he is fit to appear in public if he has merely taken a bath. Rest is homework. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo, Shri Guru Puja. Namasheshtam Manamapi Shachiputram Atra Sarupam Shirupam Dasya Grajamuruparim Materim Goshtavatim Chariya Vaishnava Seva Nistarapaye Chekeba Charya Vaishnava Seva Nistarapaye Chekeba Namasheshtam Manamapi Shachiputramatra Sarupam Sirupam Dasyagrajamuruparim Matarim Goshtavatim. Can we start over? Namasheshtam Manamapi Shachiputramatra Sarupam Rupam Matarim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramoho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurun Tam Natosmi He Guru Jnanadadina Bandho Swanandadata Koranaika Sindo Vrindavana Sinahitavata Prasida Radha Pranaya Prachara He Dina Bando Koranaika Sindo Kuru Prasadam Mai Mandamude Laksha Parade Bahupapagade Tatpada Padme Stumatishta Krishne Yadyapi Amara Guru Chaitanya Das Tatapi Janiya Ami Tahara Prakash Guru Krishna Rupahana Shastra Pramane Guru Rupe Krishna Kripa Karena Bhaktagane Shiksha Guru Ketajani Krishnera Swarup Antaryami Bhakta Shresh A Dui Rup Naivo Payantya Pachitim Kavayastavesha Brahma Yushapi Kritam Ridamudas Maranta Yuntar Bahis Tadubratam Ashubham Badunvan Acharya Chaitya Vahusha Swagatim Yanati. Without serving the representative of Krishna, nobody can approach Krishna. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master. By whose causeless mercy, I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Shachi Mata, the association of Srila Surup Damodar, Rupa Goswami and his older brother Sanatan Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radha Kunda and Govardhan Hill, and a desire within my heart for the loving service of Sri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon me. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudev, you are the only ocean of mercy. I'm a dull fool and have committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I have fallen into a dense myriad of sins. Therefore grace me with your mercy, so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Sri Krishna. Although I know that my spiritual master is a servitor of Sri Chaitanya, I know him also as a plenary manifestation of the Lord. Every living entity is eternally a servant of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Therefore, the spiritual master cannot be other than a servant of Lord Chaitanya. Spiritual master's eternal occupation is to expand the service of the Lord by training disciples in a service attitude. According to the deliberate opinion of all revealed scriptures, the spiritual master is non-different from Krishna. Lord Krishna, in the form of the spiritual master, delivers his devotees. The relationship of a disciple with his spiritual master is as good as his relationship with the Supreme Lord. Spiritual masters always represent themselves as the humblest servitors of the personality of Godhead, but the disciple must look upon the spiritual master as a manifested representation of Godhead. One should know the instructing spiritual master to be the personality of Krishna. Lord Krishna manifests himself as the Supersoul and as the greatest devotee of the Lord. The initiating spiritual master is a personal manifestation of Sri Madan Mohan Vigraha, whereas the instructing spiritual master is a personal representation of Sri Govindadev Vigraha. O my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science could not fully express their indebtedness to you, even if they were endowed with the prolonged lifetime of Brahma, for you appear in two features, externally as the Acharya, and internally as the Supersoul, to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevalabha Prati Sadma Bando Mui Sabadana Mate Jahar Prasare Bhai Bhavato Riyaja Krishna Kapti Hoy Jai Te Krishna prapte arja hoite. Guru mukha padma vakya vitete ko viya aitya. Guru mukha padma vakya chittete koriya aitya. Guru charane rati tekseyu samagati. Sri Guru charane rati tekseyu Jashpute Tribhuvana Hadaru Bhora Doya Dehamore Bharataya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Namah Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavali Paschatya Dishatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Gadadhar Shivasari Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sripad Paramhamsa Parivrajagacharya Stotra Shishiman. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishrupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Stotra Shishiman Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gokopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Navadvip Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Sambhekta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Srimad Bhagavatam class in 1 minute and 32 seconds. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Kurma Devata Devi Tamishna Tomcha Dharanamam Nicham Avitam Chasanam Guru 3. Where's Jai Madhava Prabhu? Jai Madhava? Please come in for a second. I'd like to appreciate Jai Madhava Prabhu, whose focus and heartfelt pursuit of spiritual life has led him on a great journey. Who would uproot a family in such a friendly country as Canada to move to Silicon Valley, lock, stock, and barrel, with the idea of being rooted in a spiritual community and thinking of the whole family and how to be engaged in service, how to bring up their extraordinary children in an atmosphere where they can reach their full potential, both materially and spiritually, who, when presented with an opportunity to take on a grand service that he knew would be all-encompassing, being the digital representative, I can give like a anecdote that when one day on the telephone I had mentioned to Jai Madhava that I needed help stabilizing our digital presence. I can do it, before I finished the sentence. And countless mornings, I suppose we could count them, but they span many, many years. Early morning meetings, afternoon meetings, check-ins, working on that, and then working on Bhakti community, conceptualizing it meticulously over years, branding it, working with others, using his own resources, which were extensive, to hire experts to help put the program in place and brand it. And I can attest to his consistent humility in working through this, always giving credit to his upline, never accepting credit for himself, working through situations where there may have been misunderstandings, painstakingly going to the trouble to make sure that he was understood by others and that he hadn't misrepresented or made any offense in any way, shape, or form to anyone. A gentle heart, very determined always to help others out of compassion, works side by side with the illustrious Pavani Bhakti, both of them in lockstep, and at the same time holding the most demanding jobs one could imagine, raising a family expertly, and attending to service as if they weren't doing anything else in their lives. Today's Jai Madhava Prabhu's birthday. I could not be more grateful for the service that you do and the way that you do it, especially the mood of always making sure that it's aligned with Trinada Pisunichena and following the Sri Guru Parampara is your main objective. And the success you and Pavani Bhakti are getting speaks for itself. May your services expand. May resources from every direction flow into your lives so that you can utilize them in Krishna service, which I know you will, because you have no other purpose. Who else would spend for a house in Palo Alto simply to have a bigger space so devotees and others could come and live there and also have programs inside the house? I'm sure it's a great economic burden. You've taken it on, but may more and more resources come to you by Krishna's grace, by Lord Chaitanya's grace. May all obstacles be removed from your path because of your extreme humility and your adherence to the process of Krishna consciousness. May Bhakti community flourish and expand. May your digital services bear more and more fruit all over the world. May you and your family be happy, healthy. May you work professionally 25% and work and earn 1,000% more. And most of all, we pray that you're always with us, heart and soul, here in this community, so that we can produce something that is noteworthy to the world and offerable to the Guru Parampara, especially Srila Prabhupada. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. No.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj, for your continuous blessings and this causeless mercy. As Vishnu glances in metal energy, which forms the universe, you could have glanced on anyone and things would have manifested. But you causelessly chose me and Pavani Bhakti for this service, glanced on us. And what you are saying is a manifestation of his potency, because of which this dead material has came to life. And we're just blissfully engaged in his service and service of the community. So please, I beg to continue to have your glance on us so that we dead materials can remain alive in your service and the service of the community. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
That's why I said no. Is there enough oxygen? There's not enough oxygen. Either turn the heat down when just burning up the oxygen, open the doors. If you need a parka, jacket, or a tent to live in while we open the doors, please let us know. We'll provide warmth then. What other necessities you have? Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye. Good morning, everyone. Hare Krishna. And thanks for joining us online and in the live studio audience here at ISKCON of Silicon Valley at 1965 Latham Street, Mountain View. All are welcome. Today, we're continuing our discussion on the very unusual circumstances mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam of Gajendra, who's a spiritual being like all of us, but who had been a king in his last life. Circumstances led to his taking birth as an elephant in his next life. What's remarkable is that we can trace that by the vision given to us through the Srimad Bhagavatam. What's more, we can also learn that one can remember one's previous activities in devotional service, and that the life is a continuum. We have to practice devotional service in such a way also that we can come to the point of full dependence on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for that's our constitutional position. And by remembering that we're in a temporary environment, this body, although one might work hard to keep it vital, may notice that inevitably one loses altitude at some point and is not able to do so, what to speak of being faced with abandoning present circumstances and accumulated wealth. However, great lesson we'll learn from today's purport is that when one remembers the rarity of human life and keeps the end in mind, as we hear in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami, when asked by Parikshit Maharaj what one's duty is, he said, Ante Narayana Smriti. Specifically, Parikshit Maharaj asked, what's the duty of one about to die? Of course, nobody can say who's about to die or not. Therefore, it's everyone's duty to remember the Lord at the time of death, which, it turns out, requires some practice during this lifetime. So, hopefully, from today's purport, we'll remember Ante Narayana Smriti. We'll also gain impetus for alacritously practicing devotional service in whatever time span we have left. And today's verse is 8:2:33. It's the last verse in the chapter named The Elephant Gajendra's Crisis. And the verse is as follows. Yakash chanesho balinon takoragad prachandavegad adidavato brasham bitam prapannam paripati yad bhayan mrityu pradavat yaranam tam imahi. Yakashanesho balinon takoragat. Prachanda vegad abhidavato prasham. Bhitam prapannam paripati yad bhayan. Mrityu pratanvat yaranam tam imahi. Kashanesho balinon takoragas. Prachanda vegad adhitavato brasham. Bhitam prapannam paripati yad bhayan. Mrityu pradhavat yaranam tad imahi. Would you like to chant?
Yakashtanesho balinon takoragat.
Yakashanesho balinon takoragat.
Prachanda vegad abhidavato brisham.
Prachanda vegad abhidavato brisham.
Bhitang prapannang paripati yad bhayan. Mrityu pradhavat yaranantam imahi.
Yakashchanesh balino antakoraga.
Yakashanesho balinon takoragat.
Prachanda vegad abhidhavato brisham. Bhitam prapannam paripati yadbhayan. Mrityuh pradhavati aranam tam imahi.
Yaskashtinesho balinon takoragat.
Yakashanesho balinon takoragat.
Prachanda vegad adhibhavato vrisham. Bhitam prapannam paripati yadbhayan. Mrityu pradhavatyaranam tamimahi.
Unamas.
Yakashanesho balinon takoragat.
Yakashanesho balinon takoragat.
Prachanda vegad adhivato brisham.
Prachanda vegad adhitavato brisham.
Bhitam prapanam bharipati yadbayan.
Bhitam prapannam paripati yadbhayan.
Mrityu pradhavat yaranam tamimahi.
Word for word. Ya. He who the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kushtana. Someone. Isha. The Supreme Controller. Balina. Very powerful. Antaka Uragat. From the great serpent of time, which brings death. Prachanda Vega, whose force is fearful. Abhidavata, who is chasing. Brasham, endlessly, every hour and every minute. Vitam, one who is afraid of death. Prapannam, who is surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Paripati, he protects. Yet Bayat, from fear of the Lord. Mrityu, death itself. Rathavati, runs away. Aranam, the actual shelter of everyone. Tam, unto him, imahi, I surrender, or take shelter. Translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead is certainly not known to everyone, but he is very powerful and influential. Therefore, although the serpent of eternal time, which is fearful in force, endlessly chases everyone, ready to swallow him, if one who fears this serpent seeks shelter of the Lord gives him protection, for even death runs away in fear of the Lord. I therefore surrender unto him, the great and powerful Supreme Authority, who is the actual shelter of everyone. Srila Prabhupada's purport: one who is intelligent understands that there is a great and supreme authority above everything. The great authority appears in different incarnations to save the innocent from disturbances. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4.8, Parishranaya sadhunam vina shaya chaduskritam. The Lord appears in his various incarnations for two purposes: to annihilate the dushkriti, the sinful, and to protect his devotees. The king of the elephants decided to surrender unto him. This is intelligent. One must know that great Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrender unto him. The Lord comes personally to instruct us how to be happy, and only fools and rascals do not see by intelligence this supreme authority, the Supreme Person. In the Shruti mantra it is said, Bishasmad vata pavate, Bishodheti suraya, Bishasmad agnis chatrascha, mrityu davati panchama, from the Taittiriya Upanishad 2.8, in case anyone asks. It is out of fear of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that the wind is blowing, that the sun is distributing heat and light, and that death is chasing everyone. Thus there is a Supreme Controller, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9.10, Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. This material manifestation is working so well because of the Supreme Controller. Any intelligent person, therefore, can understand that there is a Supreme Controller. Furthermore, the Supreme Controller himself appears as Lord Krishna, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and as Lord Ramachandra, to give us instructions and to show us by example how to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet those who are duskriti, the lowest of men, do not surrender. Namam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradama. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord clearly says, Mrityu sarvaharaschaham, I am all-devouring death. Thus, Mrityu, or death, is the representative who takes everything away from the living entity and who has accepted a material body. Thus, Mrityu, or death, is the representative who takes everything away from the living entity who has accepted a material body. No one can say, I do not fear death. This is a false proposition. Everyone fears death. However, one who seeks shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be saved from death. One may argue, does the devotee not die? The answer is that a devotee certainly must give up his body, for the body is material. The difference is, however, that for one who surrenders to Krishna fully and who is protected by Krishna, the present body is his last. He will not again receive a material body to be subjected to death. This is assured in Bhagavad Gita 4.9, Tyaktvedeham punarjanma naiti mam eti sorjuna. A devotee, after giving up his body, does not accept a material body, but returns home back to Godhead. We are always in danger because at any moment death can take place. It is not that only Gajendra, the king of the elephants, was afraid of death. Everyone should fear death, because everyone is caught by the crocodile of time and must die at any moment. The best course, therefore, is to seek shelter of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and be saved from the struggle for existence in this material world, in which one repeatedly takes birth and dies. To reach this understanding is the ultimate goal of life. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 8th canto, 2nd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Elephant Gajendra's Crisis. I offer my respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the previous acharyas, and to all the assembled devotees. Vancha kalpatarvishcha kripa sindhabhi evacha patitanam bhavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. It's a straightforward verse and purport that keeps life simple. Ante Narayana Smriti, or the remembrance that we're here temporarily, tends to make us more efficient in our decision making. Oftentimes, when we forget that I'm here for non-disclosed but temporary amount of time, then I tend to become absorbed in the various other goals of life besides remembering Krishna at the time of death. And there's a way in which one may ignore this idea that I'm going to die. Another aspect of the verse and purport is that many ignore the well-organized way in which the universe works, and rationalize a life that is separated from the idea of a supreme controller. And Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, and Prabhupada quotes it here in this verse, that there are various mentalities. People have various mentalities. The verse Prabhupada quotes here, Namam duskritina mudha prapadyante naradama. First he says that there are 4 kinds of people who have attitude problems, that don't surrender to Krishna. And let's look at them. Namam duskritina. So sukrita means that one does something beneficial for oneself and for others, or has the capability of doing it. A sukriti is somebody who has the impetus to do good. If you put the prefix du on the front, just like when you have sukha, happiness, and you put du in the front, it's not good. Dukkha means misery. So sukriti is somebody that Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita as being qualified, especially qualified. It has an impetus to do service to him. But then there is an unfortunate attitude, duskriti, where one has impetus to work, but does it in a way that's not beneficial to him or herself or to anybody else. So Krishna's mentioning the duskritis. Namam duskritino mudha. Mudha is not a complimentary term, but refers to those who are content with a life that is mostly bolstered by sense gratification and the mode of ignorance. It means getting absorbed in the illusory side of life without any impetus to think of what's the purpose of my life or what's going to happen at the end. Prabhupada mentions that one may absorb oneself in hard labor just to earn enough income so that one can afford cheap sense gratification, intoxication, for instance. And such a person, sometimes in the Srimad Bhagavatam is compared to an animal, because there's an equation in the Hitopadesh that says humans and animals are the same. You may notice that a lot of animals you can talk to, make eye contact with, and they're just like we are. There's no difference, except for one. It says the Hitopadesh, that animals don't go to church, except in the Catholic tradition when they're Benedictine on that St. Francis Day, because he used to benedict animals. However, humans, a human is defined as one who has a sense that life has a higher purpose, and therefore doesn't just take the base mode of life, working and just getting sense gratification as the all in all. Might be full absorption in a football team or cricket, if that hits closer to home, and then being satisfied with staying intoxicated and not really thinking about the ultimate goal of life. Such a person is a mudha, like an animal. Namam duskritinu muda prapadyante naradama. There are those who are considered the lowest because they are against the idea that there's God. Maya pritigyana means those who are highly intellectual, but they use their intellect to deny the existence of God. Asuram bhavam asrita, the asuras, those who are very specifically against God and speak out. These are all categories of duskritis. And Krishna says in the Gita, Yesham tvanta katam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvanva mohanir mukta bhajanti mam dritavrita. If one gets some sukriti, and especially Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, there's a way in which by association with devotees, one may develop this urge to worship God and perform devotional service, in whatever context it is. Such persons are Sukritis. And Krishna mentions there are 4 kinds of Sukritis. Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukritinu arjuna, arto jignasa artarti gyani cha paratarshaba. Those who are in need of wealth and they worship God, please give me some material facility. And then there are those who are in distress. They come to a realization, nobody can help me but God, please help me out of this distressful situation. Then there are those who are inquisitive and they would like to poke around and think about who God might be, or if there is a God. And then there's the Gyanis, generally classified as those who know there is a God, and they're considered by Krishna those who are sincerely engaging their intelligence to understand God more, so that they can worship Him. They're the best of the lot. Tesham Gyani Nitya Yukta Eka Bhakti Vishishyate Priyo Hi Gyani No Tyartam Aham Sacha Mama Priya. Krishna says they're all dear to me, but especially the Gyani who's situated in a clear idea that there is a God and I'm not him. Therefore, one can be observant that there are various states of consciousness one can drift into in this world, mostly because of association. And these verses, especially this verse today, as we're speaking about this verse, is urging us to remember that we should be very much aware of the fact that at any time we can leave this world, and that our main purpose is to remember Krishna. Because, as Krishna describes in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Shariram yadavapnoti yachchapyu kramatishvara grihit vaitani samyati vayurgandam ivashayat. However we conduct ourselves and whomever we associate with in this life, because of that association, we develop a certain flavor. It's perceivable, various sense. We can sense when somebody has eaten a lot of garlic, for instance, because garlic comes out of one's pores. I once was on a flight, unfortunately, where somebody next to me consumed large amounts of alcohol. And I noted that the alcohol came from his pores the rest of the night. And there was an odor of alcohol. And so Krishna is saying a similar thing about our attitude and our mindset. And that is the way we've associated ourselves. If we've come in contact with those who are materially odoriferous, then we take on that same scent, so to speak. And it's perceivable. Shariram yaravapnoti yukramatishvara grihit vaitani samyati vayurgandam ivashayat. And because of that, there's a way, and as Prabhupada quoted in this verse, Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharasharam hetunane nakonteya jagad viparivartate. The material world is a very precise instrument. It measures the thought process. I don't know if it was fortune, but I had the opportunity. There was this screen somebody told me to stand in front of and do some movements, and then the screen, because of its AI capabilities, had quantified my ability to move in certain directions and up and down and so forth. I didn't get a great score, which really made me disturbed. But according to them, the instrument was invincible and it wasn't a mistake. What to speak of, when I went for physical at the hospital, I got on the scale and I said, could you do it again? Because that doesn't seem right to me. And I did it again, and it's like, no, it's a digital scale, it's right. There's a way in which we may think otherwise, but the material nature measures how we're moving, how we're thinking even. It's better than AI. It's the aspiration of the AI industry to come to this level of precision and understanding what everybody's thinking, but that's what the universe is. It's a huge AI chamber that measures exactly what our mentality is, and there's no escaping it. Just like there's no escaping the scale. You can get on the scale and then say, no, I don't think that's right. And like, no, yeah, no, that's right. Or no, yeah, that's right. And similarly, we're being encouraged to realize that everything we do is exposed to the world. And this is for our benefit. It's not some torture chamber. It's for those who want to improve. That's what scales are there for. You get on the scale, and if you deny the scale and say, it just doesn't work. Okay, we had it checked, try it again. No, that's not right. The denial of reality doesn't help at all. And therefore, the measurement process in the material world by the material nature, which then shotram chakshu sparshanam cha, rasanam granam eva cha adishtayam manaschayam vishayan upasevate. There's a way in which you get a little, after you go through the process in the material world, a lifetime, which they measure the weighted average of your overall mentality. Just like what is that? AC1 test for glucose, hemoglobin. They measure you over a 6-month period or whatever so similarly, there's one of those things, you get a report. At the end, they say, no, that's where you are. And that's what the the mean, the average mean has been over the last 3-6 months or whatever. So there's that kind of measurement within the material nature. And you get a little chit, a readout, or it could be digital. Material nature reads it out and says, this is where you are. And here. That's what your mentality is. It's measuring directly. And then you have, if you get those results ahead of time, or you realize that they're being measured, then you might develop a sense of, well, let me improve. I'll try to amend my activities so that I get a better score. And this verse is reminding us that this is a test we're going through. It's a probationary period, human life. It's not fun and games. And forget everything. Don't be a mudha. And just think, I'll forget about it. And I'll sleep it off and I'll wake up later. Well, if you do that for your education, you'll end up, and no offense to car wash people anywhere in the world, you'll end up working in a car wash. That's a cliche here in America, so I just use it. But I beg a pardon to anybody who works in a car wash. They're perfectly fine, and I like washing my car whenever possible. But you will end up working in a car wash if you don't go to school. If you just forget about it, which is what the mudhas do, and just say, oh, I'll just dull my mind, and I won't think about this measuring process. What to speak of people who never measure their biometrics, and they just eat and say, I'll work it out later. But then they may descend into some kind of chronic disease. So there's a chronic disease that one may develop here in this world, and there's a way to come out of it. There's a program that one can get on, and it's called Krishna consciousness. And the impetus is to measure, where am I? What is my level? There are 3 general levels. There's a beginning level, there's a medium level, and then there's a high level. And if one figures out where approximately am I on this scale and gets an authorized report and said, you're about this far up on the beginning level. You could take stock and say, well, at least I have some level. And then one could then get expert help and say, here's how you can improve yourself. Here's how you can improve especially your mindset. And Krishna consciousness provides that, which means there's several points made here. And first, in the first sentence, one who is intelligent understands that there is a great and supreme authority above everything. That in and of itself will solve a lot of problems. I'll read it again. One who is intelligent understands there is a great and supreme authority over everything. If you just take that one sentence and consider it deeply and act accordingly, then you can reform your activities and the way you think about life accordingly. For instance, a verse that parallels this idea is in the Sri Upanishad, Ishavasyam idam sarvam, yat kincha jagatyam jagat, tena tyaktena bunjita, magrada kasaswadanam. This means that God owns everything. And that one is provided for by the owner of everything with a quota that's sufficient. And if you accept that quota as a gift and use it properly, thank you. Ooh, it's a big number. Welcome to everybody online. Hare Krishna. And then consider everything else as the property of God, and keeping in mind that He's the supreme authority above everything and everyone. Then one can adjust one's mindset accordingly and move about the world in a way that doesn't cause oneself problems or others. That's in the next verse of Sri Upanishad that says, Kurvan eve ha karmani jijiva shekshatam sama evan tvai nanyate tosti nakarma lipite nare. You don't get smeared by karma, lipite nare, for human beings to work in the way of considering God the owner of everything, the controller of everything, and being reverent in that way as one moves about the world. Whatever tradition one's from, there is God, I'm not him, and offering everything to God. This lifestyle frees one from the great anxiety of being a thief and then gaslighting God by saying, well, it's his fault. Gaslighting is horrible. It means not taking responsibility for your action and blaming others, and usually done gaslighting in a very subtle way, where the person who's being victimized by it doesn't realize it for a long time until later realize, oh, I didn't do anything wrong, but that person put everything on me. So we can also slide into this adverse consciousness where we gaslight God. So don't do that, says the Shastra. Just be honest. Admit that God's the supreme controller. Admit that everything belongs to him. And live a happy life. You won't be bereft of anything, just like I gave my garland away and I got a new one. That happens. One might think that if I don't hold on to all my stuff, that I'm going to be a loser, but it turns out that those who think I'm going to just serve God the way he asks to be served, patram pushpam palom toyam, offer things to me, don't consider them yours, and covet them, offer them to me, you'll enjoy much more, because there's a quality to one's life then that, first of all, one doesn't feel guilty that I'm a thief, and second of all, there's a reciprocation that one gets, a loving reciprocation from God, and plus one realizes that God's so nice that he considers every gesture towards him as so important that he himself feels he can't repay it. As in the story of Sudama. Sudama Brahman lived in penury, so much so that his cloth that he wore was torn. And his wife, after living with him for a long time and also being emaciated because they barely had enough to eat, and Sudama lived in such a way, his philosophy was, whatever comes of its own accord, I'll just accept that, but I won't do anything for myself. And this is partly what your spouse is for. She said, I have an idea. You happen to be friends with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There should be no harm in just going to see him. What do you think? And Sudama was reluctant because he didn't want there to be a perception. That's a weird way to say it. He didn't want to go there with an ulterior motive that I want something. But he acquiesced to his wife and said, I'll go. But he thought within himself, I'll only go there just to see my friend and to offer my heartfelt, loving obeisances to him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's what he thought. His wife then suggested, why don't you take a gift? And there was nothing in the house, so they borrowed some ordinary rice from a neighbor. That's poor if you can't find a little rice in your house. He tied it in a portion of his cloth. And then he made his way to Dwarka. He thought he would be stopped at the doors of the gates. There were gates around the city. There were various entrances that were guarded. And surprisingly, he found himself walking through 3 gates, another 3 gates, until he was in the sanctum sanctorium, the inner part of Dwarka where Krishna resided with his 16,108 queens, and he found himself walking into the entrance of Krishna and Rukmini's palace in Dwarka. When Krishna saw his old friend Sudama, and of course we know that Krishna, in any case, deeply appreciates Brahmanas, so much so that there's a verse written about it that says, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagatitaya Krishna Govindaya Namo Namaha. Krishna himself worships cows, Brahmins, and he saw Sudama coming, so he came out of his palace to offer his respects. Many who witnessed this thought it extraordinary because they knew Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they saw a poorly dressed, emaciated Brahmin and how Krishna fawned over him, so much so that he brought him in to his home, sat him on his own bedstead, where he had been sitting with Srimati Rukmini Devi, and Srimati Rukmini Devi, the goddess of fortune herself, began to fan the Brahmin. And then Krishna and Sudama had a discussion, remembering their days together in the Gurukula. Particularly, they remembered a story where they had gone out to collect wood for their spiritual master, Sandipani Muni. And a storm had unseasonably come upon them, and it trapped them in the dense forest, so much so that they couldn't find their way out. And they were also besieged by the deluge that came from the storm. And in such a heartfelt gesture, their spiritual master went out into the forest to find them. He thought, my disciples are there on my behalf, and they haven't come back. It's worrisome. I'm going to go find them and rescue them. He went there, found them, led them back to his ashrama, and he gave them such benedictions as, everything you remember, everything you study in my ashram will remain fresh in your mind because of your dedication to me, so much so that you risked your life. Samit pani shotrim brahmanishtam is one of the admonitions given in the Shastra that says you should be willing to serve a spiritual master in this mood of carrying wood in your hands. Meaning, although Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he went to Gurukul, but he was willing to go into the forest, as was Sudama, and find wood to bring back for the sacrifice, at the peril of their own lives, putting their own lives in peril. And after discussing with Sudama, tending to all his needs, feeding him, washing his feet, appreciating him, it was time for Sudama then to return to his home. Before he went, and as he got up to leave, not intending to offer the gift that his wife had arranged, thinking it too insignificant to offer to Krishna. Krishna, however, knew what he had, because Krishna knows everything. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishani chabhutani mam tu vena nakashana. That means Krishna knows everything. He knew that Sudama had brought that. He knew why Sudama came. He knew what his mentality was. I hate that word, mentality. It sounds weird. Mentality. Is there a better word, Kurnath? Or somebody get a thesaurus? Find something. Consciousness, that's too technical. I need something that more poetical, nicer. Attitude, disposition. Something more poetical, nicer. Huh? Heart. Yeah, his heart. He knew his heart. That's more poetical. And he knows our hearts too. He knows, in fact, as he describes in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that even if we can't do everything, he's known as Bhava Grahi Janardana. He knows your intention. You may be, we may be, in a situation where we want to serve Krishna, but something's holding us back. Is that possible? Yeah. We could be in a situation where we're so obligated to our daily duties, it's hard for us to squeeze in any time. But more than anything, we want to serve Krishna. That's why when an opportunity sometimes comes up, like going on a yatra, and you say, oh, forget it, I'm just going to go. I'm going to leave behind my so-called obligations for now, and I'm going to go on the yatra because that's what I really want to do. So there's a way in which Krishna considers all these things, and he called back Sudama and said, I think you have something for me? And Sudama was bashful. So Krishna commandeered it. Is that what it was? Kurdath? Commandeer, he'll take it for 50 points. And grabbed it, and he took a palmful of the rice that was concealed in the cloth of Sudama, and he was about to take another when Rukmini said, oh no, don't take another. And the meaning of that was that she, as the goddess of fortune, felt that now she was obligated to bestow great treasures. But the way that Sudama had offered that in such a heartfelt way, even not wanting to give it because he thought it insignificant, that Krishna forced the issue, and Rukmini said, don't take another one because I don't think I can repay that much if you take one more. And then Sudama made his way home thinking that Krishna's so kind that he didn't give me any wealth, because he knows that I'm so fallen that I would then forget him in the mood of Janmai Rayashuta Shibir, Enamanamadapunan, Naivar Yavidatum Vai, Twamakinjana Gocharam. We've got to keep saying the verses. And I would become intoxicated by, oh, Krishna likes me more than anybody. But when he returned home, he didn't recognize his home because the ramshackle hut he lived in had now been transformed into a palace, heaven-like surroundings with servants and singers greeting him. His wife looked like a Gandharvi. And he himself at that time was still in his regular attire because Krishna arranged it. He wasn't transformed so his wife would recognize him when he came. When he received all this from Krishna, he accepted it as his mercy and was guarded in the way that he used it all, thinking this is Krishna helping to show me how to utilize everything in his service. Our acharyas comment near the end of the story that Krishna knew that Sudama was attached to being very poor. That's possible. And he wanted to show Sudama and the world how Sudama, whether he had nothing or he had everything, would still engage in the service of the Lord. But there's an overarching lesson that comes from this story, which is extremely heartfelt, which is that Krishna felt so loved by Sudama, by his simple offering and his reluctance to even give it, and the mood that he was in, that he felt he couldn't repay Sudama, and he felt subordinate to Sudama. And this is what transformed Sudama more than anything. As Lord Brahma has said in his prayers in the 10th Canto, 14th chapter, Stane stita shrutikatam tanavan manobir, ye prayasu jita diho pyasitas trilokyam. If one takes the sincerely takes to the practice of devotional service, there is a time when Krishna will feel so grateful to the devotee for their adherence to the process. Stane stita. No matter what position they're in now, Brahma says, that's okay, stay in it. Krishna feels so obligated to his devotee for that simple devotion. Just, I'm sticking with it even though I'm no good at it. That he becomes subordinate he's conquered by the love of his devotee. And this Sudama noticed, and forever it changed his heart to see how Krishna was subordinate to his love. It didn't make him proud. It made him want to serve Krishna more. And then there's, of course, in the spiritual world and in any in the relationship we have with Krishna, there's always this sense that the devotee wants to do more and Krishna wants to do more for the devotee. And he mentions that in the Bhagavad Gita, where he says, Ananyas chintayanto mam yejana pariyupasate tesham nityabhyuktanam yoga kshemam bahamyaham. That when somebody develops this mood, that it's all for Krishna, everything's Krishna, I only want to serve Krishna with whatever I'm doing in my life, then there's, Krishna says, I'm going to be right there with you all the time, and with my own hands I'm going to make sure everything's arranged for you. Personally, he feels so obligated. He's a person. Krishna's a person. And we have a personal relationship with him. And there's no harm in surrendering to Krishna. However, there is a great burden if one doesn't. If I hold anything back, then I feel it, like the princess and the pea. Even 7 mattresses, there was a chickpea at the bottom, a hard chickpea, and she felt it. We're so sensitive to our own reluctance when we become a little evolved by the association of devotees, with our own reluctance to give everything to Krishna, that nothing satisfies us in this world. That's an awkward situation to be in, that I want to surrender to Krishna, but I'm not doing it because I have some causeless unwillingness to surrender. So this verse today gives us the permission to once and for all decide that my life is meant for Krishna, and I can remember Gajendra in his situation, and as Prabhupada points out, we're all in the same situation. We're in the same boat. And Prabhupada once said that the material mentality is that I think that I'm not. And he gave the example, a saying in Bengali about these cow patties. Have you ever seen cow patties in India? That's like, okay. So, cow patty, people use them as fuel. So, there's a saying that one's already in the fire, and the one that's nearby the fire on a stack is laughing at the one in the fire, saying, ha ha ha, not knowing that it's the next one in. So if we remember this verse, remember that the crocodile's already on our leg, and that we know that the Bhagavatam gives us full permission to surrender to Krishna. No matter what your mother-in-law says, or what anybody else says, we have permission personally to directly surrender to Krishna without getting permission from anybody else. We can do that. So if we take that to heart and make that our main purpose in life, that I'm going to ready myself for this great test. I'm going to remember that everything I'm doing is being recorded and for my own betterment. And I'm going to try to move my stats a little higher in Krishna consciousness. From here, a little bit above beginner, I'm going to move up. I'm going to try in the next few years to get to the medium status. Let me move my metrics up a little higher in devotional service. And this is a life worth living, says the Bhagavatam, and therefore gives us these stories about those who have been through it themselves so we can emulate them and take on their heartfelt desire to serve the Lord. And now we'll take a few reflections or questions. Yes. You're up, and then we have Mukaravinda. We'll give you a microphone as soon as we manufacture it. We have to mine the metal first and discover electricity before we get it to you. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. you described at the end how we have full permission to take this verse, to use this verse. It gives us permission to fully go into Krishna consciousness. So we can internalize it, take it to heart. But that process of taking it to heart, can you elaborate on that a bit more? How can you actually, how do you go about not just making it something you do versus making it the thing you do, making it your mission?
Just think about it a lot. If you remember Krishna's promise in the Bhagavad Gita, and then you can do a thought experiment and say, what if Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Say, well, how would I know? And just say, okay, suspend disbelief and just say that he is. And then take his promise in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityaja, Mamikam Sharanam, and apply it. What would I do if Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he promised that if you fully surrendered to me, that you shouldn't worry about anything? And then try it out. Just try it for a day and see what happens. Your friends are, what happened to you? It's like, I'm doing a thought experiment today. Jiva Goswami comments on the verse, Sarvadharma Parijah. He said it's a verse that Vaishnavas remember always. And they think that Krishna is 10,000 times more important to me than my own life because he gave this promise. So you can remember, he gave a promise. If somebody promised you something, sometimes you think, well, they're not really going to pay me. They promised me $1 million. Said, if I make $1 billion, I'll give you $1 million. And then they make $1 billion, and then they start saying, well, I mean, after taxes, it's not really. But if you consider Krishna and his way of reciprocating with Sudama, who just gave him a little, he didn't even give it to him. Krishna took it from him, but somehow he was complicit in bringing it because his wife insisted and so forth. And if you just think about how kind he is. Think about how when Putana came to kill him, afterwards Krishna, well, anyway, she appeared like a mother. So, yeah, I'll consider that. I'll take it. Think about that. Think about how kind Krishna is and feel what your life feels like when you make these gestures to Krishna of surrender. At the very least, you're relieved from the great burden of the false ego, thinking that I'm going to protect myself and that I'm great in some way. It's so much of a relief to consider that I don't have anything. I'm the most insignificant. Of course, we shouldn't, as Prabhupada made in a demonstrative way, one of his disciples said, Prabhupada, I'm the most fallen. Prabhupada said, you're not the most anything. So it should be balanced in a way that we don't get all weepy in front of everybody and try to prove that we're the most fallen by being either incompetent or seemingly morose because of that, or whatever it may be, affected. Try it out and see what happens. Okay, Mukharvind, and then Divya.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. It's amazing purport. The first line that you read, one who is intelligent understand that this is a great and there is a great and supreme authority above everything. So I had a question, like even in outside world, there is so much about AI, artificial intelligence, and all these things are going on. So what is this intelligence that one needs, and how do we get this intelligence, and how do we share this intelligence with others? Like how the AI is getting prominent, can we have this intelligence get prominence all over the world that we can share?
We should be grateful. Gratitude is different from AI in the sense that when we have gratitude for the arrangement that's already here in the world. First of all, I'll just give a anecdotal story that Prabhupada gave about science and the advancement of science. There are ways, amazing ways in which those who focus on the material energy, including yogis, this is described in the 11th Canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, they want to develop a mystic power, so they'll dedicate themselves to complete focus on a particular element, like air. And where attention goes, energy flows. So there's a way in which they're able to merge their consciousness with what's behind the air element, the very essence of it. And then they take on an airy quality through which they're able to do magical tricks, mystic yoga. And so, Prabhupada, those aren't considered to be very important by devotees. And then Prabhupada gave this vignette. You go to the carnival. Anybody been to a carnival? I'm sorry to hear it. You go to a carnival. At the carnival, they have what's called a sideshow. It means some bizarre thing, fattest person on earth, or somebody who can contort themselves in a way that everyone goes, oh, why did I pay money for this? But then there's one at the carnival, he said, man who barks like a dog. And so people pay their money, they go and they give a few dollars to go to the sideshow, and the man comes out on the stage and howoo! And everyone's impressed. They say, that does sound like a dog, just like a dog. In fact, that's a Siberian husky sound. And I said, perfect. And they paid their money for it, and they think, oh, that's amazing. But then Prabhupada points out, there are Siberian huskies all over the world. They're already doing it. And the AI idea or any other scientific idea, yeah, it's kind of amazing, but it's already been done before. So the element of devotional service is not just a dominance in technology, where we can develop to such a degree that we ourselves are amazed, and there is a way in which we always get dominated by what we try to dominate. That's the rule of the material world. Like when television came out, everyone thought this is a great victory for human society, and then most of the population is addicted to sitting there with drool coming down there. Can you take out the garbage? Not right now. Because they're conquered by the material nature. We try to conquer, she gives the illusion that we're conquering and then conquers us back. That happens every time we try to conquer the material nature, because it's not conquerable. So devotees develop gratitude for the phenomena of the material world, and the only way that you can have gratitude is if it's personal. It's impossible to have gratitude for an impersonal force, because we have gratitude when somebody intentionally did something for us, not otherwise. If you find $100 on the ground downtown San Francisco, which is unlikely, it's already been picked up. But if you did, you just found it randomly, you can't have gratitude because it was not intended for you. It was somebody's mistake. They accidentally dropped it. But if somebody walks up to you and says, or you're driving home on the bridge and the car in front of you pays for you, they're intentional. It's like, I want to pay for the people behind me. Then you go through, they're already paid for. You're like, who are those people? There's people in there that did something for me. And the mistake that is made by science is that it's an impersonal force. If we soup it up somehow by concentrating our energies on developing something technologically, that we're going to have something new and exciting. It's not. Prahlad Maharaj says, Punak punas charvita charvananam. Same thing. It's always the same thing, only recycled in a different form. You got this, you got that. It's all the same energy. It doesn't impress us souls at all because it's too gross for us. We want something that's beyond the subtle nature of the material world. Even the intellect doesn't satisfy us. We have to go into the realm of spiritual interaction, and then we can be impressed. So we have to have an awareness that no matter how much we meddle with the material nature, there's never a time in which we'll be able to appreciate it in in a way that'll satisfy our souls. Okay, I didn't answer completely, but there was one more question from Divya, and then we'll be about done.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, I actually have two questions. The first one is you mentioned that about surrender in time of difficulty when, like, you were talking about Gajendra's story. So I was wondering what that means. Like, practically, how do we at a time of difficulty?
How do we
That
what?
was my surrender.
Surrender. Well, one way is by taking help from devotees. It certainly is shocking when we have some difficulty in this life, because we feel helpless and we also feel victimized. And there are a lot of mixed feelings when we get punished by the material. I hate the word to use punish, but there's a way in which when there's a reversal of fortune in our life, and it seems like everything is against us and we've been assaulted somehow or other, it's very hard to process. It's not a simple thing. But the way we surrender at that time is to try to process it through association with devotees and through hearing from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Even though it takes some time to go through the grieving process, when we go through the grieving process plus hearing and taking shelter of the devotees, who've likely been through similar instances, and if they're advanced, they've processed it through hearing and remembering Krishna, then that experience becomes a pillar of our success in our life. When we're able to rise above that feeling of victimhood and take shelter of Krishna and realize that we're all being tossed in this ocean. In a paragraph Prabhupada writes in one of his smaller books, he says one of the ways you can pray to Krishna is to say, "My dear Lord Krishna, I'm being tossed by this material ocean in this way and that." And you can name the ways in which, go and confess to Krishna how you're being trounced by the material energy. Because he can give relief just by us acknowledging that I'm being trounced. And when we become aware of Krishna, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, you can cross over all the obstacles of material life by my grace, by becoming aware of me. And the best way to process, though take all means necessary to process this kind of grief, but chant Hare Krishna. Because Krishna is there in his name, and there's an uncanny way in which by chanting Hare Krishna, we come directly in contact with him, and we're able to take his guidance from within and from the power of the chanting of the holy name. And that's the last word in taking shelter, is to go on chanting Hare Krishna, Sukhe Dukhe Bolo Nako, Varane Harinam Korare. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, whether you just got beat up by the material nature or you're in good times, you just checked and it looks like you doubled your money. Either case, go on chanting Hare Krishna, because whatever it is, it's, as I've been contemplating recently, no matter what you do in the material world, how good it seems now, it's going to twist in the wind sooner or later. Whatever relationship, whatever bank account, whatever you have, it will twist in the wind. It means it goes sideways. And I don't know if those are commonly understood phrases. Twist in the wind is commonly understood. Could you look it up as an idiom? What does twist in the wind mean? This is my last point. I want to leave you with a zinger. Twist in the wind. Research department. Somebody please.
Be left in a state of suspense and or uncertainty.
Okay, is there more? Kuranath, what would you say twist in the wind means?
I always think of it as like a very, I think it was a phrase used by
Richard Nixon when he was talking about somebody
did
would
not
be
know
twisting in the wind, and it's a very unhappy circumstance. I always think of like somebody being hung out,
Yeah.
just hung out, like hanging by their feet to be punished, and they're just out there twisting in the wind. They're helpless.
Yeah.
And
Thank you. I didn't know it came from Richard Nixon. Thank
I
you
don't
very
know that
much.
he was the origin of it, but I know that
Okay.
he used the phrase in the Watergate stuff that you're going to leave us twisting in the wind,
Everything eventually twists in the wind here in the material world. So you have to know that ahead of time and be dedicated to go on chanting Hare Krishna despite the fact that everything twists in the wind, or despite the fact that you apparently got a windfall. It's not ours to keep. It's ours to invest in Krishna service. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Lakshmi Nrsingadev, if you so desire, please let us take these instructions of Srimad Bhagavatam and the story of Gajendra in particular to heart. And may we also remember Sudama and his loving exchange with Krishna, and know that may we know that Krishna is always personally present in our heart, waiting for our loving service. And may we take full advantage of Krishna's offer that whoever surrenders unto him, he'll fully protect. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer in whole or in part. Please unmute and say Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thanks everybody for joining. And now we have the main part of our program, which is a short youth presentation, which is coming up, being presented by one of Risheshwari Leela's students. Om Tat Sat. Vanchakalpaduruscha kripa sindhabevacha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Vaisesika Maharaj, for another fantastic class. The story of Sudama was so heart-touching. It was one of my favorite stories growing up. So thank you for bringing the lessons we can learn from that. So we'll continue with our Bhagavatam, Glories of the Bhagavatam, with another topic also from the 10th Canto. Arshia Patel, she's a sister of Brivan, for those of you who remember, is going to be presenting today.
Hare Krishna, as Mataji mentioned, my name is Urshia. I am 13 years old, and I will be presenting a chapter in the book, Disapproved but Not Disowned, called A Glowworm in Front of the Sun. In this chapter, we learn about Krishna's immense love for his devotees, even those who make mistakes. As we all know, it was almost daily routine for Krishna to kill some demon or another. But funnily enough, they only seem to arrive before lunch. In this image, as shown, Aghasura, the great snake demon, was disguised as a mountain cave and lured the gopas in. Krishna then went inside the demon's mouth and expanded himself to suffocate Aghasura, killing him. But now that the demon was killed, all the gopas were so hungry. Krishna then suggested to the hungry gopas that they rest on the banks of Yamuna, where the fragrance of the lotus is blooming and the chirping birds were there. The boys let their calves graze and sat around Krishna in a circle so that Krishna was in the middle and the gopas were the petals of a lotus. Although the Gopas surrounded Krishna in a circle, it seemed as if they were individually having a conversation with him. It seemed as if Krishna was sitting in front of each and every single Gopa, even though Krishna had not expanded himself into any forms. Krishna shows his power to create and maintain this world, to kill demons and so many other things. But Krishna's power to reciprocate love with his devotees was his epitome of all of his powers. While having lunch, the boys noticed that the calves had wandered into the forest deeper and deeper, allured by the new grasses. The boys, worried, wanted to go search for the calves, but Krishna reassured them, and he himself went to go search. Krishna embodies the concerns of all of his devotees, and if they surrender all their worries onto Krishna, they will be protected with both physical and spiritual well-being. After failing to find the calves, Krishna returned to the banks of Yamuna, only to find that his friends had also gone missing. Krishna then realized this was the act of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma, impressed by Krishna's defeat of Akasura, wanted to test Krishna's powers, even though Krishna was the supreme Godhead, and Krishna himself had given powers to Lord Brahma. To address this, Krishna needed to teach Brahma his supreme position, while also fulfilling his immediate responsibility to comfort the anxious mothers and cows in the village waiting for their children to return. Krishna accomplished both tasks simultaneously when he expanded himself into multiple forms, taking on the forms of the cowherd boys and the calves, satisfying the mothers and cows. In an instant, Brahma returned to Vrindavan to witness the outcome of his test, only to realize that Krishna was sitting with his Gopas on the banks of Yamuna just as he was before. Brahma went back to the place where he had hid the calves and the boys, only to find them still under their spell. He went back to Krishna, but he also found the calves and boys there. He was very confused and were unable to discern which was the real boys and calves. His attempt to bewilder Krishna had failed, and in fact, it left Brahma himself mystified. It was as though a faint glow of a glowworm against the brilliance of the sunlight. Seeing the awkward situation of Brahma, Krishna took compassion on him and lifted the curtains of Maya. As Brahma looked on, all the boys and calves transformed into four-armed Vishnus, with many Brahmas and many Shivas and many sages worshipping them. Brahma almost fell unconscious with so many Vishnus all in one place. Due to the presence of Lord Krishna, Vrindavan was free of all material lust and greed. Lord Brahma immediately descended from his great swan carrier, the four helmets with his four heads touching Krishna's feet, the pair of all his four eyes shedding tears, washing Krishna's lotus feet. He offered heartfelt prayers to Krishna with folded palms and a humble heart, glorifying Krishna in various ways, and asking Krishna if he could take birth in Krishna's association to sing his glories. Rather than rejecting Brahma for his mischief in stealing the cowherd boys and calves, Krishna showed compassion and brought him to the divine conclusion of humility. He also granted Brahma's desire by telling him that he will take place as Haridas Thakur. Who could be more kind than Krishna? Hare Krishna, thank you.
Arshia, how did you do that? That was amazing. You narrated the whole story just from memory. And it was a veritable feast to be able to sit here and then go through that pastime from beginning to end with such beautiful pictures that you put together. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. What did you learn about yourself while you were preparing for this? It seems to me, and I may be wrong, that this took a lot of time and preparation. And how did it feel imbibing all this and with the idea that you were going to stand in front of an audience and speak it? What were you thinking, and what did it take to remember all this?
Well, this story I've learned as a kid a lot, and this story I had already known. It was mainly the details I had to memorize. But at first I was kind of nervous because I was presenting in front of you and all these like devotees. I was quite nervous. But in the story we learn about how if you like the worries that you have, if you leave it onto Krishna, Krishna will help you. Krishna will give you the power and like resources needed to be able to do whatever that your worries are.
Thank you. What a great answer. Appreciate it. Hare Krishna.
Any questions, comments, or reflections? Thank you. Any other? Well, looks like that is it. Thank you, Maharaj. Akruvnath Prabhu, please.
So what happens if something, you're in a distressed condition and you pray to Krishna and then you don't get relief? Like, for example, Prabhupada wrote that in World War I, all the soldiers from different countries, their parents and loved ones were praying, may my son come back alive. And then when they didn't, then they all became atheists because they expected God should answer our prayers and they felt he didn't answer their prayers.
Well, in a way, they saved thousands of other people's lives, and they also went back to Godhead by saving all those people and doing all those like pious deeds.
They became atheists.
Well, I guess the family didn't know about how the dead soldiers had gone back to Godhead, and they didn't realize in the grief that they had also saved thousands of other people's lives. They had also answered thousands of other families' prayers.
How would we, in our own life, if we're suffering distress and we're trying to depend on Krishna and pray to Krishna, and yet the relief doesn't seem to be coming, how should we respond to that?
Well, if we're taking your example, then I would say that you would look at all the other families and how their relief came because their child or their father or their mother are still alive, they're still alive, and you would look at how their relief is there and you would try to embody that as your own.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for those wonderful answers to that question. If that is it, I'd like just to thank Arshia once again. She's, like I mentioned, Rivan's sister. Rivan actually, the family came from India 6 years ago, and they came to our temple, and Rivan joined Kaishara class. I was probably just starting out as a teacher for Kaishara at that time, and I still remember that they were new, and now they are serving. The whole family had helped put up the decorations for the Vyasa Puja festival. So thank you, Arshia, for leading, and also to the family for leading by example how devotional service is practiced and how you can actually progress. Your progress is immense, and I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have a couple of announcements, starting with Bhakti community. Pavani Bhakti, give her a warm welcome.
Hare Krishna, thanks everyone. I hope you all know what is Bhakti community. It's a community of spiritual seekers. Wherever you give books, we invite them to join Bhakti community because we present Krishna consciousness to them in a very simplified way and take them to Bhakti Yoga, which is the yoga of love and gratitude. So please invite any newcomers. I honestly feel that we all are in a very, very privileged position to help these newcomers, and you all should feel empowered to yourself join the Bhakti community to see what fun we are having over there. And also then you'll be inspired to invite your newcomers to see how they can have the same fun that we all are having. So please consider. I'm seeing Shri Kumar Prabhu here. He actually runs the Kirtan Lounge program, and he has some newcomers that he introduced them to Bhakti community. I want to see if he wants to say a few words on what their experience has been. Please. You don't want to?
Thank you. I'll just stay. Thank you very much. Yeah, we introduced Breya. She came. She used to come to the Bhakti Lounge, and then now, as soon as she got attached to Bhakti community, with the friendship of Vicky and Mataji and Mantrasi, yes, Mantrasi Mataji. She's been very, very regularly coming to the temple, and whenever I meet her in the temple, she says she's so happy and to be part of this, and I've seen her progress wonderfully. Even Denise, who started initially coming, and she still says me that although sometimes she has to go to Canada, but she always logs in and connects back, and she's very, very happy to be involved in it. So happily proceeding forward in their Krishna consciousness. Thank you.
Thank you. So you can see that, however you have known newcomers from whichever program, wherever position, whichever location, please introduce them to Bhakti community. Hare Krishna.
Now we have Team ISV book distribution. Let's give a warm welcome to Malini Devidasi. I said a warm welcome.
Hare Krishna. How do you think the marathon is going, Balram?
Thank you for the question. We have a goal to distribute at least 78,000 Bhagavad Gitas, and we are slowly inching towards the goal.
That's a huge goal. How are the communities involved?
Yeah, that's a good question too. Though the goal is huge, 78,000 Bhagavad Gitas, I see so much of positive energy in the community. I was just speaking to Mantra Siddhi Mataji last week. She just came and she said, I just wanted to talk to you for 2 minutes. Do you have time? I said, sure, why not? And she said, I like to do Mantra Lounge. She hosts programs where the new people come and they sing Kirtan. She loves to do deity worship, and she does a lot of painting, decoration for the deities, but she always had some inhibition to go out on book distribution. But she broke out of that shell, and she went out on book distribution with her good husband and her son, who is, do you know how old is Gopal Rai?
Like about 2 years old.
About 2 years. I think he's 4 years old, maybe. So with Gopal Roy, they went to Fisherman's Wharf, and that's the first time she distributed a Bhagavad Gita, and she was so happy. And she came and she told me that somehow I was holding back on this service for so many years, and now I made a commitment that at least twice a month, I want to go out on book distribution with Gopal Roy as well as her husband. And it was so encouraging to see that. And not only that, I just got a message from Balaram Vilas Prabhu. Balaram Vilas Prabhu, his wife and his son, they are taking 40 cases of Bhagavad Gita. Each case has 24 Bhagavad Gitas, by the way. And they're taking 40 cases, and they are going to go and distribute between now and January 7th. And someone sent me a message. It is Shyam Jagannath Prabhu. He doesn't go out on book distribution so regularly, but he hosts a Bhakti Vriksha program. And he wants to engage his Bhakti Vriksha members also in the service of book distribution. So he's taking 20 cases of Bhagavad Gita. And this weekend, they are going to pack all those Bhagavad Gitas in those bags. And we're going to give them a quick seminar on how to approach people, how to distribute. So we are going to go to his Bhakti Vriksha program and show them how to distribute. And after that, they're going to have a team outing for the entire Bhakti Vriksha, about 25 families, and they are going to go and distribute all those 20 cases of Bhagavad Gita. So I feel that everywhere, like the community is getting involved in distributing Bhagavad Gitas?
I regularly go for book distribution, but I don't like going to the same place.
Oh, that's a tough one. But, recently, there are devotees like Achyuta Chaitanya Prabhu, Kishori, Manjari Gopika, and we have Aradhita Anuradha Mataji, Nikunjanayak Prabhu, and our Krishna Sakha Prabhu and Kamalakshi Mataji. They went out on traveling Sankirtan. Did you know? And in the traveling Sankirtan, in just a weekend, they distributed over 1,000 Bhagavad Gitas, and they collected $10,000 of donation at Seattle. So, and also Madhava Govinda Prabhu, Palika Lakshmi Mataji, and Kautu Karna Prabhu, they went out last Thursday too on traveling Sankirtan to Seattle, and from there they're going to go to Portland as well.
I hear that finals exams are next week. So cannot participate them, right?
Yeah, final exams are coming. Yeah, no, I know all the youth have final exams next week. I hear that, and I know it's very tough. But there is an incentive. Next Saturday, we are going to go, after the final exams are done, we are going to go on Youth Sankirtan next Saturday. So all the youth can come and participate. And some youth who are already graduated and they don't have final exams, they are going out every Friday evening for book distribution. And I see some pictures as well. Advait Srinivasan, Prabhu, and others are leading that. So they can participate. They can come next Saturday, and they can do every Saturday after that as well.
What about me? I also want to go with my friends to book distribution.
Oh, yeah? You wanted to? Okay, something for you too. Next Saturday is also Kids Sankirtan outing, which means that we have a big group of kids going out on book distribution, at least 45 kids, I think. And we have Hansapriya coming back next week. She's going to make toffees to be put in the book packs. She's going to make special prasadam for all the kids. So next Saturday, we will have the Kids Sankirtan outing. So you can go along with your friends. They will go door to door and hang it as well.
I and my friends have money, and I would like to use the money for the marathon. How can I do that?
Oh, how much money do you have?
Little bit.
Okay, so tomorrow is an opportunity. We are going to have a fundraiser, marathon fundraiser tomorrow. And whoever participates in that fundraiser, all of them will get very special gifts. It's a secret, so I'm not going to tell you what it is, what gifts you're going to get, but there is a secret gift. At the same time, every penny that you donate for this marathon is going to go to distribute millions of Bhagavad Gitas around the world. Is that okay? Okay. Thank you very much for listening to this. Thank you, Kunjari, for helping with this one. So we have many opportunities I've already mentioned today and next week. So anybody would like to participate, please reach out to me. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Any other announcements? Who's that? Jodendriya taheka jibe pele vishayashagare Tarmaje divayati Loba moy sudhurmati Take jeta katita shangshare Krishna bodha doyamoy Kori bare jiva jai Shaprasadana dilobhai Shayanamrita pao Radha Krishna gunagao Premedako Shri Chaitanya Nitai Premedako Shri Chaitanya Nitai Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnave Sapapunya Vatam Rajan Vishvaso Nagajayate Prasade Sarva Dukhanam Hanirasyo Pajayate Prasanna Chetaso Yashu Puripaya Vatishtate Kayopa Ukta Saganda Vasalankara Charchitaha Uttishta Bhojino Dasas Dhammamayam Jayemahi Suksham Prayushitam Papi Nityam Badurikeshataha Prapti Matrena Bhoktavyam Nakakala Vichara Nadesha Niyamastatra Nakala Niyamastata Pratamanandatam Shrishter Bhoktavyam Harirabhravid Bhagavad Shri Mahaprasada-ki Gaura Premanande Nitai Gaura Haribol 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol Please come take prasadam. Hare Krishna. Prasadam be served in the picnic area. Go out from the west wing door, take a sharp right, and go straight ahead. You'll run right into it. Hare Krishna.